Have you ever wondered why, despite following spiritual leaders, books, or religious systems, we still feel lost, still confused, still searching? Jiddu Krishnamurti once said, "Truth is a pathless land." And that one statement shook the spiritual world to its core. Krishnamurti was a man who rejected all authority over the mind. He walked away from fame, religion, and even the title of world teacher that was given to him when he was still a young man. Why? Because he believed that the truth, the real living truth, cannot be organized, taught, or followed. Let that sink in for a second. We're used to looking for a path, a way, a guide, someone to tell us what to do, what to believe, how to live. We want structure. We crave certainty. That's why religions, ideologies, and spiritual teachers are so appealing. They promise us a map. They say, "Follow me. Do this. Don't do that. And you'll find peace, or enlightenment, or heaven." But Krishnamurti calls that out. He says the moment we follow a path, we're already lost. Truth, according to him, is not something outside of us. It's not a destination we can reach by walking a certain road. It's something we must see, right here, right now. It's in the way we live, the way we think, the way we observe the world and ourselves. But to see it, we need a clear mind, a free mind, not a mind full of borrowed beliefs. That's where it gets uncomfortable. Because freedom sounds beautiful until you realize what it really asks of you. It asks you to stand completely alone, to drop all traditions, all conditioning, all secondhand knowledge. It asks you to see things as they are, not as you were taught they should be. Most of us aren't ready for that. We want comfort, not truth. Krishnamurti says that the search for truth through any organization, religious or political, is a form of escape. It's our fear of standing alone that drives us to follow others. But truth doesn't come from following. It comes from deep, silent observation. Looking at your life, not to judge it, not to fix it, but just to see it. He invites us to become aware of our thoughts, not to control them, not to fight them, just to watch them without saying, "This is good," or "This is bad." That simple act, watching without judgment, is the beginning of intelligence, real intelligence. Not the kind you get from books or schools, but the kind that comes from understanding yourself directly. And that's the paradox. We've spent our whole lives chasing answers, reading books, going to teachers, listening to gurus. But Krishnamurti says, stop, just stop, be still, observe. And in that stillness, something deeper begins to unfold. It's not about achieving anything. It's not about becoming better. In fact, the very idea of self-improvement is still rooted in comparison, in becoming someone else. But truth isn't about becoming. It's about being, fully, honestly, without filters. He says, when the mind is completely silent, not forced, not controlled, but truly quiet, then something sacred may emerge. That silence can't be manufactured. It comes naturally when the mind is no longer chasing, no longer comparing, no longer escaping. So what does this mean for us, for you? It means no one can give you truth. No book, no teacher, not even Krishnamurti himself. He made that clear again and again. Don't follow me, he said. I am not your authority. And he meant it. That kind of radical freedom is rare. It's scary, but it's also real. Because in that freedom you begin to live differently. You begin to see your fears, your attachments, your beliefs, not to fix them, but to understand them. And in understanding, they begin to dissolve. Not because you forced them away, but because you saw through them. Krishnamurti's message isn't a philosophy to be memorized. It's an invitation to look, to see clearly. And when you truly see, there's no need for a path, no need for a method, because truth is already here, waiting. But only for those brave enough to stop running and simply observe. But seeing isn't as easy as it sounds. We think we're seeing clearly, but most of the time we're looking through layers of memory, fear, opinions, and beliefs. Our minds are crowded, busy, always comparing, judging, analyzing. Krishnamurti said that the real challenge isn't finding truth, it's removing what blocks us from seeing it. So how do we remove those blocks? Not by effort, not by discipline, but by awareness. Pure, silent, attentive awareness. He gives an example that's so simple, yet so powerful. Imagine looking at a tree. Just a tree. Can you look at it without naming it? Without saying, "That's a tree, that's a pine tree, that's a pretty tree"? Can you simply observe it without letting the mind label or interfere? It's surprisingly hard, but if you can do it, even for a moment, something changes. The mind quiets. The distance between you and what you're observing begins to fade. And in that moment, you're not separate from the experience. You're in it, fully. That's the kind of seeing Krishnamurti talked about. Now, apply that same kind of attention to your thoughts, to your emotions. When you feel anger, can you just observe the feeling without saying, "I shouldn't be angry," or "They made me angry"? Can you sit with it, feel it, watch it rise and fall, without resisting it? That's where transformation begins. Because the moment you judge a thought or an emotion, you divide yourself, you create conflict. But when you observe without resistance, you see it for what it really is. And that seeing is the beginning of freedom. Freedom from what? From fear. From the past. From authority. From the need to become something. Krishnamurti called it freedom from the known. Because the known, your past experiences, your conditioning, your beliefs, all of it shapes how you see the present. And as long as you're trapped in the known, you can't ever see the truth. So when Krishnamurti says truth is a pathless land, he means that you can't arrive at truth by walking someone else's path. Not Buddha's, not Christ's, not even his. Because the moment you follow a path, you are imitating. And imitation is not truth. Truth has to be discovered freshly, on your own, in your own life, in the way you respond to your thoughts, your relationships, your daily experiences. That's where it lives. Not in temples, not in holy books, not in rituals. That's a hard thing for many of us to accept, because it's much easier to follow a system than to face ourselves. It's easier to repeat prayers, follow commandments, or go to retreats than it is to sit quietly and observe the chaos inside our own minds. But Krishnamurti says that's exactly what we must do. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop following, stop seeking, and simply observe, not as a technique but with real attention, something shifts. You're no longer trying to become anything. You're simply awake. And in that awakening, you meet truth. Not truth as an idea, not truth as something written in a book, but truth as a living, breathing reality. Right here, right now. Krishnamurti never gave answers. He asked questions. Questions that made you uncomfortable, that made you look within. Because he knew that no answer from outside could ever satisfy you. You had to see for yourself. He once said, "The moment you have a conclusion, you've stopped learning." And that's what most of us do. We hold on to our conclusions about ourselves, about the world, about what's right or wrong. But truth can't live in conclusions. It lives in the movement of constant discovery. So in the end, there is nothing to follow. No map, no teacher, no fixed direction. Truth isn't something you arrive at. It's something you see. And that seeing happens now, not in the future. Not after years of searching, but here, in this moment, when the mind is quiet, when the heart is still, when you stop trying to become. Krishnamurti wasn't trying to lead anyone. He was trying to wake us up, to make us look, not at him, but at ourselves, he said. The ability to observe without evaluating is the highest form of intelligence. That kind of observation changes everything. It brings clarity. And from that clarity comes freedom. You don't need to join anything. You don't need to believe in anything. You just need to look. Honestly, without judgment, without escape. Just look at your thoughts, your fears, your habits, And when you see them clearly, they begin to lose their power. There is no path to truth. Because truth isn't a destination. It's a living thing. It moves. It breathes. And it reveals itself in the space between thoughts, in the silence of the mind, in the depth of awareness, when you're no longer searching. So stop running, stop following, just be still, observe, and allow the truth to come to you. Not through effort, not through control, but through deep attention. That's all it takes. Just attention. That's where the pathless land begins, and that's where truth lives. Always here, always now.